Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I am back with another market analysis. Now I wasn't planning on making one of these for, well, another week or two. However, a fairly large political or world event has had a massive impact on the RuneScape economy over the last week. So I thought I'd make an update video on it. For those who don't know, the country of Venezuela has been in political and economic turmoil for years now, really. There's been a rapid destabilization of their currency, and it's one of the most dangerous countries in the world to live in because of corruption, just rampant looting and murders, and it's just overall a pretty shitty situation. Starting on March 7th, there was actually a countrywide power outage where most people in the entire country lost all of their power. I think now it's maybe up to 70% of people have it back. Now most people realize that a lot of RuneScape gold farmers come from Venezuela, and with the power out, they were not able to access the game. Now, Venezuela's President Maduro blames the US. He said the imperialist government of the United States ordered the attack, however, he offered no proof. Now, who stands to gain from a countrywide Venezuelan blackout? Is it the US military, a foreign political agenda? The people who stand to gain the most from a Venezuelan blackout are, of course, RuneScape mergers. Which one of you bastards did this to an entire country just so you can make a little more pixel GP? To be honest with you guys, for the longest time, I did not actually believe that Venezuelans alone had a big impact on the RuneScape marketplace. I just assumed that gold farmers were more spread out than just Venezuela. Obviously, they did make up a pretty large population of gold farmers, but I didn't really think that they would have a huge impact if, for example, their entire country had a blackout. However, it looks like that I was totally wrong, and I definitely underestimated the impact that a Venezuelan power outage could have on the RuneScape economy. So first up here, we're going to look at some of the most heavily botted items. To start off here, let's have a look at the nature rune. Okay, so the Venezuelan power outage happened on March 7th, which the price was around 200 then. On the 8th, it was 208. On the 9th, it was 216. And on the 10th, 223. So a pretty noticeable difference in the price, however, not unheard of. The real story is when you come down here to the amount bought and sold. On March 6th, 22 million. The next day, 8 million. That is such a big difference. Less than half the amount that is normally traded per day. Now, there's one thing to keep in mind here, that the ratio of people using a client like OSBuddy versus the regular client in Venezuela might be much less. I would imagine that a lot more people are using the base client or even Rune Lite because it is less intensive to run. So it's possible that the ratio doesn't add up entirely, so these numbers may not be 100% accurate, but they are pretty accurate, I would imagine. Now, GeoTracker actually has a pretty new feature here where it actually shows the difference between the buy and sell offers of the quantity. Normally it does that up here with the price, but they've actually broken down the quantity numbers more as well. Again, if you don't have GeoTracker, it is extremely useful. It is even fun just for looking at item prices more in depth, just for stuff like this. There will be a link in the description with my referral link, so we can see directly when the power outages happened. Both of the bought and sold decreased a fair amount, however they even out pretty much right here. Normally when someone is farming or buying items a lot, there's going to be way more sold than there are people buying them. However, once that amount of people lost power, we see that the amount pretty much equalizes for these 3 days. Now we can see the amount traded going back up pretty quickly here, and that could be due to a few factors. One, the Venezuelan government is slowly getting the power back on there, so more farmers and botters are getting back into the game. The other explanation is that with the item prices being much higher, there are just more regular players or farmers or botters from other countries taking advantage of a more profitable moneymaker. Okay, so that was just for nature runes. Let's move on to another item here. Dragon Bones went from 2,200 up to 2,400 in the matter of days, and the quantity bought and sold went from around 2 million, maybe a bit less, down to around 1 million, so pretty much cut in half as well. And once again, the bought and sold quantities kind of equalize for a couple days here, as all the farmers, well, are out of power. Next up here, going along with it, is green dragonhide. Now, interestingly enough, the price of green dragonhide restabilized very quickly. It went from 1,500 during the power outage, went up to 1,700, but now it's all the way back down to 1,500 again. Once again, the amount traded went from around 1,200 up to 1,500, down to 392,000. So that one was almost cut in a third. And we can see here the amount bought and sold had a pretty big discrepancy before, but now it pretty much stabilized almost even for a couple days, and then it shot back up very quickly. And my explanation here is that green dragonhide is heavily botted in pretty much every country including the US, Europe, anywhere else that bots does green dragonhide. So just pretty much other places picked up the slack pretty quickly. One item that was affected quite heavily that I didn't really think about was the eclectic impling jar. I did not actually realize that these were so heavily botted, but we can see here on the 7th it went from around 3,400 up to 3,900 with about a 500 GP increase, and the amount being farmed went from around 600k total a day down to 170k, so again cutting around a third. And this is a really good example of the bought and sold chart really telling us a tale. It went from around 100k to 150k bought, down to around maybe 80k to 100k, so a bit of a decrease there, but the amount sold went from 450k down to 70k, so a huge decrease in just the amount that was sold. Now, GE Tracker does have a way of actually determining what is a buy and what is a sell. It has something to do with how the offer is completed and if one side gets instantly sold or bought. So now let's move up to some of the more high requirement money-making methods that are sometimes botted. Now, I'm guessing that these methods are not going to be affected as much as lower level ones because gold farmers and botters, for one, just can't do them as often because their accounts get banned for trading gold or for botting, and having to get the requirements back again takes a while. So a zulrah bot or a zulrah farmer will be much rarer than, well, let's say a green dragon farmer. So first up here, let's have a look at sharks. Sharks have a much higher requirement to be able to fish them. On the 4th, it was worth around 560 and went up to 620. So the price did not seem to be affected much by the power outage. However, the amount traded did. The amount traded went from around 2 mil to 2.5 mil down to 1.5 mil. So quite a substantial decrease in the amount traded. However, it seems to be consistent. Unlike the other graphs where the amount sold really tanked it and the amount bought stayed more consistent, with the raw shark, it seems to be pretty equal. Maybe it has to do with raw sharks being kind of a self-contained item for farmers. All the farmers need sharks to do a lot of their gold farming activities. Either way, the price did not get affected much for raw sharks. Now let's have a look at zulrah scales, one of the higher tier farmable bosses. Now it is bottable, and some gold farmers do farm it, but it's pretty rare as it takes a while to build an account that can kill zulrah, and getting banned sets you back a lot of time. So on the 7th, it went from around 200 up to around 213, so a slight price difference. The amount traded went from around 43 million down to 30 million, which is a pretty substantial decrease. And once again, the amount bought and sold did kind of equalize here. However, the price was not affected much. Next up here, let's have a look at the red chinchampas. They went from around 1300 up to 1,500, so a pretty substantial increase. In the amount traded went from around 1.5 million down to 800k for a couple of days, so about cut in half as well. And once again, on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, we can see that the amount bought and sold is pretty even as far as the quantity is concerned, which is almost never the case any other time of the month. Black chinchampas, we see a pretty similar story. Went from around 2,900 up to 3,100, and the buying and selling quantity being pretty consistent for those 3 days. And the last item I'm going to quickly look at here is the regular chinchampa, a much lower volume item. The price was affected pretty substantially, going from 800 up to 950. The quantities were not as drastic. So let's have a look at the price of bonds right now. It seems to always follow this kind of cyclical pattern of going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And if we have a look at the quarter, something kind of similar. Obviously, all items will be going up and down a lot, but this one seems very consistent. That being said, the price of bonds are finally going up, worth around 3.6 to 4 mil right now. Right now, they're worth about 3.8 mil, so getting pretty expensive. I'm kind of interested to see if the amount of bonds that traded actually got impacted by the power outage. Went from around 5,000 a day, 4,500, 5,000, pretty even, down to 3,200. Actually, that is a very big difference. And then like farmable items, the amount bought is what got affected because most farmers are buying it with bonds because they cannot afford to spend $10 US or $11 US on membership, so they're going to be buying the bonds. And we can see that the amount bought tanked it right after the power outage. That's actually very telling right there. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the Venezuelan situation and how it affects the old school RuneScape economy, and we should all be pretty sympathetic to the situation. Anyway, let's move on. And last up here, let's have a quick look at some of the most expensive items in the game. We have the Scythe of Viter going from around 1.3 bill up to 1.5 bill, so it's kind of on the rise right now. And the Twisted Bow as well, going from around 1 bill up to, right, I forgot about this, the Twisted Bow bug. Now this went way lower than this, but they kind of self-corrected a bit. Anyway guys, that is it for the video. If you have any more discussion points or anything you wanted to talk about, leave a comment down below, I'll try to answer them. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a like, and I will see you next time.